Today we're talking about classic dies for a classic cartridge. Guy Miner here from UltimateReloader.com. Today we're going to talk about using some 1968 vintage dies to load up some classic 30-30 ammo with a classic bullet and have a little bit of fun with it all. So I showed up here at Ultimate Reloader one day and Gavin had something new and not so new for me to take a look at. He had this box with these cool old Rcbs dies in it from 1968. He'd gotten these from a friend and asked me if I would mind cleaning them up and using them to load up some ammo. I said, sure, absolutely. I think that he knew that my oldest set of dies is from 1974. I bought them brand new, so these weren't that much older than my old dies. I know about these dies. I did. I took them out and cleaned them up and put them back together, and tell you what, they were in great shape. There was a little tiny bit of surface rust on the shell holder. Some of it's still on there. I didn't get too ambitious about cleaning that all off, and I was able to use these dies to load some really good ammunition. What I thought was really cool is that the standardization is such that you can take these vintage old dies and they will still fit in today's presses. We put them right in this Rcbs press, they would fit in any standard press. So that worked out pretty well and I was able to load some good ammunition on them. Gavin let me take home some homework. I got to go home with the Rcbs turret press and give that a try, working on 30-30 and some other cartridges I wanted to mess around with. And that was my first time using this turret press. Certainly not my first time using Rcbs press. I started on that back in the 70s, but first time for this press. And I got to tell you, I'm pretty impressed with it, so to speak. So this is a really handy press to use. It does not take up much room. Some turret presses are huge. This is nice and compact, doesn't take up much room, has 6 stations up here for different dies. I've got a sizing die, I've got a seating die, and then I added a factory crimp die onto it for my 30-30 loading. It moves really nice and easily here from station to station. And it has a real good option on here for priming on the press, which I learned to appreciate. That came out really well, and we'll show some more detail on how that works. So the press is compact, sturdy, easy to use, has a nice leverage, comfortable to use. I just liked the thing. It was just fine. We also got to bring home an updated version of Rcbs's powder measure, and I used it with some ball powder, lever evolution, put it on the nice stand up here to keep everything about the same height, which made for really convenient loading. And I found that the measure through the lever evolution powder very consistently within about a half a grain. The loading data that I was checking out was telling me to use maximum of 38.5 grains with a 150 grain bullet. I settled for 38 just to make sure we stayed under max. That worked out real well. So using these classic dies to make up a classic cartridge, 30-30, I went pretty classic except on my choice of powder. I've actually grown very fond of this lever evolution stuff. It's shown us pretty darn consistent accuracy, and I chose Hornady's 150 grain round nose soft point bullet, which has been doing a fine job for deer hunters for a long time. We also have Hornady's brass, which was real nice. I got some unprimed brass on that and went from there. Also some spent primers and all depriming old brass. Went with the Federal primers on this, Federal 210 match primer, large rifle primers, not match. And got a muzzle velocity average of 2,250 feet per second with pretty good accuracy. My last group was just over an inch at 100 yards using the old 3-power Leupold scope on my Glenfield. Priming on this press is real easy. You've got the primer pickup tube, put the primers out of a little tray, use the pickup tube, put them in here, they come on down, and then it's just a simple shuttling back and forth of the primers to get them to the cases. So I loaded up a fair bit of this 30-30 ammo at home, and it was real nice to find out I had my old Glenfield at home, 1970s rifle with a 1970s scope on it. It was real nice to find out that it also shot really well out of our new Henry. So that was a good thing. Something to think about, if you come across some of these older dies someplace, a lot of times people inherit them or you find them maybe at a secondhand shop or something like that, you can clean these up. And I'm going to show you how to do that. So to clean up your dies, the first step is to take them apart. Now, if you've got a set of old dies, they may be a little reluctant to come apart, so don't hesitate to use some cleaner on them and then just set them aside. Some kind of penetrating oil, some kind of cleaner. I like this Hornady One Shot. It works out really well. And then just set them aside, give them some time for that to seep in there into all the threads, and then you can take them apart. Tools that I use sometimes, if I've got an old set of dies that are really stuck together tight, I'll use some channel lock pliers. I'll even put one in my vise and then use the channel locks on them. A slotted head screw up here lends itself to being used, lightened up with a screwdriver. Take them all apart. And once you've got them apart, you may find some trouble areas, some areas that need some scrubbing. Steel wool, fine steel wool can help you remove that, particularly in conjunction with some gun oil. You can even use a Scotch-Brite pad on some of those things. I like to use Q-tips to get it deep inside the die and get that all cleaned out. There's a lot of things you can use. Just take your time. Don't force it. If you find yourself having to act like Hercules to get your dies apart, rethink what you're doing. Okay, because they'll come apart. So we've cleaned up and used our old dies with some modern equipment and made some great ammo. What I want to know is, are any of you using some old gear? Maybe old gear that you inherited, maybe old gear that you found at a garage sale or someplace. And if you are, how do you clean it up and preserve and continue using the old equipment? Drop a comment and let's have a discussion. Now it's time to wrap it up.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you're interested in becoming a professional gunsmith, check out the Sonoran Desert Institute. They've got a degree program, they've got a certificate program, and you can study from home. Learn more at sdi.edu. Thanks again for watching.